When's the next video? It's been months.
I don't know, soonish I guess.
What's it going to be about?
Probably this cartoon show I've been watching recently on Netflix.
DC Superhero Girls?
No, it's actually called DOta Dragons Blood. It's really interesting. It's all about—
You should talk about DC Superhero.
Where to begin? Well, I guess a pretty accurate statement to sum up how I feel is simply, DOta Dragons Blood broke me for like a day. But today I just have to talk about this show. For those who didn't pay attention to the little intro I did at the start, I mentioned that I was in the process of watching this terrific show, but I never finished it. Time flew by and I was actually able to make time for this show, and lucky for me, book 2 was right around the corner. I've sat here and watched this show 4 times. 4 fucking times. That includes both book 1 and book 2, which is just over a total of 6 hours, back-to-back action, drama, storytelling, and I don't give a shit. It was so much fucking fun and I regret nothing. 16 episodes were all we had to get to know this world and these characters. 16 episodes where we see and learn about these characters and what drives them and what haunts them. Whether that's something as simple as a story, to a code, to something as groundbreaking as a literal goddess. There is always a deeper meaning behind the actions of these people. Same goes for the titans that rule the skies, the eldworms, aka the dragons. The show doesn't shy away from getting in your face with this gritty realism and showing the vulnerability of these characters, and I rate that. Given a chance, this show will definitely tug at your heartstrings the moment you become invested. And trust me, if you like a good fantasy series, DOta Dragons Blood has definitely got you by the balls. There is a lot going on with this series. A lot of twists, a lot of turns, a lot of death. Besides that, the way things are handled, such as the animation, the storytelling, characters and so on, it's all really well thought out and well executed. In my opinion, what helps with this is the brilliant voice cast behind these characters that drives the series. Hats off to the casting director or directors, because they definitely got some iconic voice actors to really bring these characters to life. Recognizable voices such as 𝗃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐈𝐌𝐿, Troy Baker, and the man himself, 𝗃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐈𝐌𝐿, who has voiced several iconic characters such as Ben Tennyson, Sasuke from Naruto, Simon from Gurren Lagann, and the one and only Spider-Man. And of course, I gotta give credit to the rest of the cast. I may not have heard of them before, but I'm glad that I finally have. Everyone gives it 110%, and you really get a sense of that raw emotion from their voices. Overall, a very solid cast. So let's talk characters. As you well already know, characters are essential to a good story, and here in this show we certainly get a sense of that. Through book 1 we see what each character has going on with their arcs and how it eventually conjoins with others. Having the characters cross paths with one another builds up upon said arc and therefore results in character growth. More on that in a bit, but before I forget, allow me to divert your attention to these character designs, and man are they something. I know it's to be expected to get this level of detail from the character design sheets, but I am blown away by these images of breakdowns of these characters I've grown to understand and care for. Notice how there's a subtle theme to each design board for each character shown. Marcy, Mirana, and Luna have a navy blue theme to their outfits, Davion, 𝗧𝗪𝗏, and Lena have a strong red, and Kaden is dominated by a jet black color. Details in the eyes and clothes are precise and vibrant, and every position is illustrated to perfection. Seriously, I fucking love this. Moving back to what I mentioned about the character growth in this series, it's really noticeable, especially if you've binge watched the series, but that's up to you if you want to do that. Dragon's Blood really delivers when it comes down to compelling characters. Book 1 sees Davion honing all that he's learned as a Dragon Knight and lets us in on his aspirations, like how he sort of looks up to Kaden in a way, but also makes his fears and worries more apparent, as well as opening up to Mirana. Book 2 massively shifts his character, since he realizes that this whole Terrorblade situation is way bigger than he realized and he needs to be ready for what comes next. With 𝗧𝗪𝗏 gone, he's now mortal and way more vulnerable, and I cannot wait to see the implications of that in book 3. But it's not just all about Davion. There are way more characters that get their time in the spotlight, such as 𝗃𝗏, Mirana, and most notably Kaden. We get to see the horrors he's had to endure with the never-ending war between the humans and the dragons. No matter how that's represented, that's still feel a lot more depth added to that character, and it goes a long way to make that character a lot more sympathetic. One other character I was deeply fascinated by was one called Luna. The build up for her from book 1 to book 2 was really interesting. We learned that she's had this toxic bloodlust while serving under the false goddess 𝗧𝗪𝗜𝗍, and during the absolute carnage and slaughter she's left in her wake, she slowly starts to come to terms with all the death and destruction she's causing, practically growing a conscience, and for a brief moment she realizes that she's become a monster. Yes, more of that. Book 2 has Luna straight up tell 𝗧𝗪𝗜𝗍 to stick it where the sun doesn't shine, and that was fantastic. While most characters are driven by something traumatic, that doesn't mean there certainly isn't any room for comedic and light moments between them. As a result, this allows the characters to grow closer to one another and have them share a strong friendship or even relationship, all the while making us, the audience, care about them. Years ago, I remember watching this video called 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐈𝐿, a Studio MIR original by, of course, Studio MIR, the animation company behind titles such as The Legend of Korra and The Witcher: Nightmare of the Wolf. I thoroughly enjoyed this animated short of 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐈𝐿, and it really got me invested in Studio MIR. As mentioned earlier, the character sheets and the way it was all animated on screen was very expressive, creative, and all that creativity was definitely taken from 𝐃𝐈𝐒𝐂𝐋𝐀𝐈𝐿, touched upon, and put into DOta Dragons Blood. Through book 1 and 2, the animation shifts gears from pretty good to freaking fantastic. For the majority, the animation is bright and vibrant, but it can also get pretty dark, disturbing, graphic, and kind of horrifying at times, but it all makes sense because that's the type of world that they live in, and it doesn't shy away from that. The animation can get really creative with its dream sequences and flashbacks. DOta Dragons Blood has this mix of gorgeous artwork and visuals where sometimes the art styles will blend in with each other, and other times they would try something new and different. I've always loved and admired that about this type of animation and the different techniques he likes to approach. I gotta be honest, I love the more gritty and physical fights than I do the magical ones. And that's not to say I don't appreciate the effort and storyboarding gone into the sequences with others such as Lena in the entirety of book 2, 𝗧𝗪𝗜𝗍𝗍 and Kaden, or even the cave sequence with Marana. But best example I can think of are the fight scenes with 𝗃𝗓𝗓 and Philomena, two characters that specialize in close quarter combat, and Studio MIR goes in. Studio MIR really shines when it comes to close quarter combat. The sheer brutality and speed shown in the fight scenes are a thing of beauty. I just love it when the gloves are off with 𝗃𝗓𝗓 and she absolutely dominates her opponent. And the way it's animated is so rough and shaky, which really adds weight to 𝗃𝗓𝗓's punches and kicks, which shows us how impactful they are. Same goes for Philomena. The animation shows how swift, agile, and deadly she is, especially when she's pissed. Don't believe me? Watch how she dominates Luna here. Fan-fucking-tastic. It's so well choreographed and so well animated, it never fails to impress me. So much has happened during this series, and it's certainly left a lasting impression on me. Besides the stunning animation, the plethora of characters, and their brilliant storytelling, DOta Dragons Blood is the perfect fantasy I've been looking for. I mean, sure, it's got some pacing issues, especially in book 2, and the 3D modeling could use some work, but that certainly doesn't take away the magic from the experience. There is a lot of heart in this show. Going in on this, I knew nothing about Dota since the series is based on the game, and that's okay. Dragon's Blood doesn't require you to know anything about the game it's based on, because it's become its own thing, and that's perfect for new time viewers. The decisions made in the show are impactful ones, and if I have to be honest, book 1 is more of an introduction, whereas book 2 focuses more on the growth of characters and the relationships, thus making us care about them, which in turn builds up the stakes to a more emotional level. Why? Well, that's simple. The show isn't afraid to take risks, which means no character is safe, and every character we lose will have a heavy impact on us since we have grown attached to them. It's well played on their part, but it absolutely sucks for us. So please, whoever's watching this, Studio MIR, anyone, please make book 3. We need it now. So, there's my review on DOta Dragons Blood. I wanted to talk more about this, but I think I've given away enough for now, so if anything, go check it out on Netflix. You won't regret it. Thanks for stopping by, follow me on Twitter, My link to my Patreon is in the description below, and that is all. Take care now, and I'll see you soon.